Must be.
All right, go
There we
Lula.
go.
Do I have to start over?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
He didn't get very far.
Okay, good morning. This is the November 21st, 2024 meeting of the Southern Region Board of Review. This hearing is being held via WebEx video conference at the Perry B. Duryea Junior State Office Building, 250 Veterans Memorial Highway, Conference Room 4A98, Hauppauge, New York, 11788. The time is now 9:05 and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Andrew Hames, Erica Schaub, Richard Pavone, Laura Buzlayman, and myself, Robert Peterson, Chairman. From the Department of State is Mr. Courtney Nation and CJ Ajoku. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. Okay, the first hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024-0242. The petitioner is Todd O'Connell for Michael Breslin. This petition pertains to an existing detached single-family dwelling of wood frame type 5B construction, 2 stories in height, approximately 1,930 square feet in total gross floor area, located at 86 Irma Avenue. I believe that's Port Washington, Town of North Hempstead, County of Nassau, State of New York. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, which states space created in basements may have a ceiling that projects to within 6 feet 8 inches of the finished floor, and beams, girders, and ducts in such space or other obstructions may project to within 6 feet 4 inches of the finished floor. Existing finished ceiling heights in spaces and basements shall not be reduced. Petitioner is seeking a variance to allow ceiling heights in the basement that are less than allowed. Okay, Mr. Todd, you have the mic.
All righty, thank you all. Again, for the record, my name is Todd O'Connell, architect doing business at 1200 Veterans Memorial Highway, Hauppauge, New York, 11788, Suite 201, architect for Michael Breslin in his application before you today. So this project came about, Mr. Breslin had contacted me to basically just design a beam on the first floor to remove a structural wall. So we did a plan to remove that wall. We submitted the plans to the town of North Hempstead. And shockingly to Mr. Breslin, it came up that there was never a CO on the finished basement, which was there when he had purchased the house. So we, advised our client about the options. With the finished basement, we told him the issues with the ceiling height. Talked about, if he would be willing to remove the finished basement. And, he really, did not want to do that because, it's a little more comfortable being finished. He does use it. Children go down there, where ceiling height is really not an issue, just to play, not to sleep. But it has been there, and that is the way he purchased the home. And he didn't want to lose that space. So unfortunately, that's why we came before you. And, we understand that, we're requesting a big reduction of the height. But the lower section of the basement, which is strictly used as storage, is where there's the main girder of the house that does project even lower, 5 foot 5 inches. But that is really just an opening where he goes into an area that he just stores stuff. It's, not used for anything. He is willing to take on any safety measures that the board may recommend. But that basically is why we're here before you today.
When did he purchase the house?
He purchased the house about, let me just go back to my records here. Give me one moment. Back in 2019.
Thank you.
You mentioned safety measures. Do you have anything you'd like to offer at this time, or?
Well, for the arch, where the beam drops to the lowest, we could either put some rubber trim on that, or paint it in red so it stands out. just to, so people can, see as they're going through into the storage room that, there's a lower obstruction at that location.
Did you discuss it all with your client, emergency escape and rescue opening?
He'd be willing to put that in.
I'm sorry?
He would be willing to put that in.
Okay.
I did, yes. We had that discussion.
Where approximately would that go? Sorry to step on you.
No, that's okay. I mean, for his property, the best place would be going through the storage room on the left side of the home.
You had mentioned the
Because the
playground.
other side uses a driveway.
Okay. So for discussions, for this purposes, we'll do north, south, east, west on the plan. Which side is the driveway on?
The east side.
I'm not seeing a north arrow. Would
No, I
north is
think he was referring to northeast, in terms of north being up.
Yeah,
So
there's no plan, so,
plan north, okay.
so that would be on the chimney side.
that's correct.
So you had mentioned before that it's used for the children to play, the basement?
Just in that one area, yeah, for, not often, but, they will go down there for their little toys or whatever.
All right, so you have essentially four spaces. You have one that's denoted as a finished basement, which you're alluding to as a playroom. Then you go under this 5'5" opening into a storage area.
Correct.
Which has a window, which is where you would potentially put an EERO, right?
That's correct.
And there's a 5'1" soffit there.
That's correct.
Okay. And then we have a mechanical room, which has I don't know, is it an unfinished ceiling or is it a finished?
Unfinished. Mechanical room is unfinished,
And then we
as
have,
well as the laundry room.
Looks like it has sheetrock on the ceiling.
Well, because it's required by code for the mechanicals.
Well, even beyond that area.
Oh, okay, yeah.
okay, and then we have the laundry room, which is non-habitable space. So does any of my colleagues have a problem with rescuing through a storage room to get to the habitable space or vice versa, getting out of that window? Or do we want to put it somewhere else directly out of the playroom?
I don't think you can,
One at a time, one at a
I
time.
don't think you can put it directly out of the playroom. If the driveway that's being used is on the east side,
Well,
then it would have to be on
we can ask the architect if there's a way
west
to,
side. But it is opposite the stairs too, so I think.
it's more remote, yes.
More remote. Also, I'm thinking probably would be good to have this wall between the boiler room and the storage room fire rated.
So,
So what would happen if you reverse it, put the storage, leave the storage where it is so you're not egressing underneath a 5-foot soffit for emergency means of egress when somebody's
that's-
trying to get out, and then
that's
put
good.
the emergency means of egress where, opposite of the mechanical equipment and make that room more open where you would enclose the equipment room. Could you do that? Like, you know what I mean? Make that the open space so that you can get out and it's more remote from the stairs.
In my opinion, because then you're going underneath that girder instead of, right at the bottom of the stair. And if we were to go that route, part of the reason putting it in storage area is because I'm using an existing window opening that's already headed off. But if I'm going to go through that expense, I could also put the egress, at the bottom of the stair, right out the back of the house. I really can't go to the right side because that's a sewer pipe. That's why that wall's furred out that far, because there's a sewer line going down that wall. But I could go out the back of the house.
Okay.
The unfortunate thing is though, is that with the layout of a house in a basement, smoke will go to the highest point, right? So it'll go up the stairs. So if we put emergency egress right next to the stairs, that's where all the smoke is being
Yeah.
drawn.
Not a lot of point to put it next to the stairs.
Yeah.
So which side of the stair are you talking about? In that storage area? Like where the closet is? Or
No,
right where
I
the,
couldn't get under that. I was literally at the bottom of the stair going out the back of the house.
That's one exit.
Yeah.
That's now one exit from the space.
Yeah, but I could do it in that storage room. I could actually go out the back of the house if need be before that ceiling drop.
Can we also talk about how the storage is not storage? I mean, it's an open
Well,
space.
It's an open finished space. It just happens to be that's the way he uses it right now.
And pictures show that
Right.
it's an expanded playroom.
Yes, I mean, is there no door on it or anything? It's just, again, that's how he uses it right now. He has, some stuff that he keeps down there in the basement in the finished area, so, but the
But
way
you
it's
don't
finished,
need the
it's
girder
really,
anyway.
doesn't need to be classified as storage.
But aren't you going underneath the girder from the other space to get to that emergency
Yes.
means of egress window?
Exactly. That's why he doesn't use it much. It's just, he just uses that one side, and the other side is that's why he has storage. He just doesn't use that side that much.
Yeah, so the primary concern is life safety.
Yeah, of course.
It's egress, exiting out in an emergency, also having emergency personnel rescue people.
Right.
So if we did put the EERO on the east side in that window and storage room, in my opinion, and I'll let my other board members here weigh in, is the more open that basement is, the better. The less compartmentalized spaces we have, the better to get somebody out. If there's a slumber party and there's kids down there and there's a fire and whatnot, and
Gotcha.
the stair is disabled. So I know we have a headroom issue at the 5.5, but in my opinion, if we opened everything up as best we can to get to that EERO, then I think we have a path to approval with conditions.
Okay,
Is that something that maybe you'd be amenable to, or your client would be amenable
Yes.
to?
absolutely.
Okay, so do you want to get granular with that? Do you want to talk about how many walls we're taking down and how we're opening this thing up, or you want to leave it to the, go ahead.
I have a question. If the emergency escape window is going to be the expansion of this existing window in the storage room, right? How
Right.
are we doing that with a 5-foot soffit?
That's.
Yes.
So how are we doing that?
It's gotta go
Should we?
You have to go down deep.
Well, the area well would go down, so you'd have a 61-inch headroom height, and then you'd go down to get the 5.7 square feet to get the code, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Again, it doesn't
also-
have to go there. We could do it. I mean, I could create a hallway going through the mechanical room to that front window. Or I could just open it, make an opening in, the back wall, towards the backyard.
But why, bear with me for a second. I get what you're saying, but why make a hallway? Why not just leave the storage a storage room, close it up completely with a doorway into it, open up the wall that's midway where your other 90-degree wall is, and make that mechanical room more of an open area and enclose your mechanical equipment and open up that window on that side. So you're just reversing the issue and you're making it a true storage room up top.
Yeah, we could do that.
You know what I mean? And it just encloses, as long as you could fire rate your mechanical equipment room to be able to get access and you have working clearances around it, wouldn't that be an easier, because you're not going underneath the 5-foot soffit area, but you're still going under a girder no matter what you're doing from one space to the other.
Yep, okay, we could do that.
Yeah, Todd, I don't really
Equal
want to design for you. I just have a question on the plan. The 5'5" girder stops at the laundry room and there's a column there. South of that, is there still a headroom issue?
Yeah,
Embedded
that's
in
the
wall?
existing girder, I'm sure continues. Where you see that column, that's the result of a beam that, a new column I'm putting in for a wall I'm taking down on the upper level.
Okay, so there's still a low
What
girder
triggered
there.
this whole thing, but I know there's a beam that continues that whole length.
Okay, so just to summarize what Mr. Pavone said, put a door in between the play area and the existing storage room. Open up the wall between the mechanical room, perpendicular wall, and the laundry room, and go to that window next to the boiler room and get an egress window there.
Wait, we're
Right.
opening up this wall, you're saying?
Opening up this
Oh,
wall
this-
here, between here and here,
Oh,
and get an egress here,
yeah,
and then close this up.
In this and this.
Right, so
Yeah, we can arrange that.
no, okay,
So then this is your 5'5", this is whatever, padded, painted.
yeah,
This is enclosed. You have a better situation without the 5'1" headroom to egress out, and it's remote from the other exit. Habitable space, non-habitable storage, non-habitable laundry, and then we could talk about other stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes
Makes
sense.
sense to me.
I'm not sure you followed us there, but we can articulate it clearly in a decision. Any other questions, like light fixtures in the ceiling, are they flush throughout the basement?
Yes, there's no further projections.
No further
Well,
projection?
there is a light fixture in the mechanical room that hangs down.
Well, yeah, but if I'm gonna finish off that whole place, I'm gonna
That'll-
finish it, you
yeah,
know,
that
properly.
can
We'll
come
make
out.
sure it's flush fixtures.
Okay, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. I don't see any on the, oh, no, there is one on the plan, right? You're proposing?
there
that
is.
exist? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, are they planning to replace the existing girder and put in a steel girder? Is that?
No. No, that's just a column coming down from above. We're not replacing the basement girder.
And the picture of the mechanical room. Are there, I see projection below the ceiling height. Is that gonna be a problem?
No,
So it's still not lower than the six, it's somewhat near the 6 foot. Is that what we're seeing? Doesn't look like it's a 6 foot, because there's piping or something in the way.
Oh, is that
The
piping?
duct.
in?
Yeah, duct work or something, yes, that's correct.
Todd, you mentioned in the beginning in your presentation that there was some structural work going on the first floor?
yes, on the upper floor. That what triggered this whole thing. We just went for a permit to remove one wall. And that's when this whole basement issue came up. He was, you know, unaware, you know, as you can see, you know, he just tries to do the right thing, permitting. You know, all he's doing is taking down a little tiny wall, which is something, unfortunately, most of the population will try to do without permits. But he did the right thing and wants to go for a permit for it, and that triggered this basement.
Is that like directly over this load bearing girder in the basement?
Yes, that's correct.
Has that work been performed yet?
No, not at all. We're waiting for permits.
All right, so is it a big deal to try and get that girder up in the floor, to get that 5.5 a little higher? Just that,
I mean, it's more footings that I would have to put in and
think
somewhere
what we were
in that wall, there's a column. I don't know where, but somewhere in that wall, there is a column. That I'd be taking down, but I mean, I could try to flush the girder just for that small section.
that would be tremendous.
That-
Tremendous, because 5.5 is a big ask,
Yes, I understand that.
especially when you have habitable space, and then you got to get to an exit. An emergency exit. So I don't know, I don't know if you can I borrow this?
Okay, I understand what you're asking for, and I think I can accomplish that.
I don't know, can you see that? Where I circled it?
Yep, I follow 100%.
We do follow? That's the laundry room,
Yep,
and then that's the area we're talking about opening up, and that's where the 5.5 would be to get to that new EERO?
correct. And then that's where I would raise that part of the beam, maybe a 4 or 5 foot section of the beam to get it flush with the ceiling.
Is that a wood beam or a steel beam?
I'm just because of the size, I'm assuming it's steel, but I don't know because again, it was encapsulated with the basement, so I did not open it up. But whether it's steel or wood, it wouldn't be a big deal to flush it.
Well, except if it's steel, it may go all the way across the,
Yeah, but we could cut steel. That's not an issue.
okay.
With the age of the house, I'm going to presume it's wood, but
Okay, yeah,
you know,
I
that's
would
just a
think that
presumption
too.
by age.
Yeah, if you can get that up to where it's 6 feet or slightly under, I think,
Yeah, it should be flush with the rest of the floor beams if I'm going to flush it.
yeah.
okay. All right, very productive. I don't think I have any other questions. Maybe the fuel source of the burner or the furnace? Is it gas or oil? Do we know?
I don't know that actually. I don't have an answer to that one.
Unacceptable. Next time you have to have that in.
So you got me on that one, but
All right.
Smoke detectors and the other.
yes, the smoke detector is actually in a storage room and the other part of the basement.
Courtney, aren't they supposed to be near the stair, like within 15 feet or something like that? Or is that the old code? The carbon monoxide, isn't that supposed to be in close proximity to the stair?
No, no,
I don't.
Yeah, I thought it's just in every room, but,
I always ask for it near the stair.
I think there's a proximity to bedrooms that's.
I remember 15 feet for some reason.
It's bedroom.
that's
It's bedrooms? Okay. I can't know everything.
Oh, come on.
All right, so if that's it, anybody else have any other questions? We'll deliberate and come back with a decision.
awesome. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Todd. Be right back. Thank you, Lola.
You're welcome.
Okay. With respect to petition number 2024-0242, Mr. Michael Breslin. Petitioner was seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1. The board makes the following findings. Number one, the dwelling that is the subject of this determination has a basement that is partly finished. Number two, the basement layout in the drawing shows a mechanical room, a laundry room, a storage room, and a large finished room, which the petitioner in testimony had stated functions as a playroom. Number three, there are no provisions for sleeping or cooking in the basement drawings. Number four, the finished ceiling throughout the basement is approximately 6 feet above the floor and appears to be fastened flush to the underside of the floor joist above. The headroom is 8 inches below the code's allowance. Number five, a central girder bifurcates the basement space. A wall runs below approximately 75% of the length of the girder. There are 2 openings under this girder. One of these has a doorway and the other is open. Number six, the headroom at the opening for passage without a door is approximately 5 foot 5 inches. This is 11 inches below the code's minimum headroom allowance at basement projections. Number seven, petitioner has stated that he is amenable to raising a portion of the girder to create an opening with headroom that is flush with the ceiling. Having problems with my tablet here, hold on. Number eight, there are projections below the general 6-foot ceiling height in the laundry and mechanical rooms that are of an undetermined height and not reflected on the plans, but are reflected in the photos submitted with this application. Number nine, a continuous soffit is shown on the plan that a continuous soffit is shown on the plan as having a headroom of 5 foot 1 inches in height. This soffit runs along the south exterior wall of the finished storage room. Number 10, the petitioner wishes to use the basement for recreation and finished storage. A recreation room requires an emergency escape and rescue opening. Number 11, installing electrically wired smoke alarms within the basement connected to similar devices located on the main level of the building would, if properly maintained, provide warnings to persons using the basement in advance of a smoke-related emergency. Number 12, a carbon monoxide detector is required at this level due to the presence of a boiler in the basement. And number 13, the local code enforcement official does not object to the granting of a state variance in this matter. So with respect to 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions to the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would be physically or legally impractical. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, being it's hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Number one, we can get this thing. Number one, that an emergency escape and rescue opening shall be installed in the south exterior wall in accordance with R310.1 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number two, that a portion of the low central girder shall be raised flush with the ceiling to provide clear passage from the recreation room to the emergency escape and rescue opening. The path between the recreation room to the EERO shall be maintained clear and unobstructed. Number three, that the basement shall not be used for cooking or sleeping and shall be depicted on the certificate of occupancy issued by the authority having jurisdiction. Number four, that any and all other projections in the basement shall be marked or treated with contrasting color to highlight the low headroom condition, and padding shall be permanently affixed to their low edges. Number 5, that all ceiling mounted lighting in the basement shall be recessed flush with the ceiling plane. Number 6, the existing boiler area shall be enclosed with 1-hour fire rated construction with opening protectives and vents for combustion air in accordance with code. Number 7, that an emergency exit sign light with battery backup be installed in close proximity to the emergency escape and rescue opening within 18 inches of the finished floor. That was a mouthful. Number 8, that electrically wired smoke alarm shall be installed and maintained throughout the basement in accordance with the Section R314 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State and connected to similar devices located throughout the main level of the dwelling. And number 9, that the basement shall conform to all other applicable requirements of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, including but not limited to the requirement for carbon monoxide detection. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
Andy, so moved.
May I get a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Pavone, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specification presented in support of this application. So you got the approval. We lost our gentleman.
No, it's,
You had 9 conditions there. You got any questions?
No,
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much.
thank you. Thank you so much.
You got it. That was wordy. All right, we're going to move right along to case number 2. We have 2024-0151. Mike Arado, Captain Permits.
Yes, I'm here. My name is Ryan Griffin. I'm partners with Mike Corrado. So I'll be hearing the case today. Or representing.
Mr. Ryan Griffin, is that you?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for joining us.
No problem,
Anyone
sir.
else here? Anyone else on behalf of the application here?
No.
Okay,
The engineer's not here?
No.
Oh,
don't be so disappointed, Andy.
gonna be difficult for him to make any judgments on what can or can't be done in the basement.
Yeah, well, we always like to have the design professional.
Only the
Mr. Page.
design professional can make those judgments.
Well, we'll do the best we can and see what happens. Okay, the second hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024-0151. The petitioner is Mike Arado for Feliz Mert Sevenkan. Hope I didn't butcher that name. Feliz Mert Sevenkan. Okay. This petition pertains to a variance for an existing detached single-family dwelling, construction type 5B, 2 stories above basement in height, approximately 1,527 square feet total gross floor area, including basement, located at 1350 Richland Boulevard, Bayshore, Town of Islip, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, which states space created in basements may have a ceiling that projects to within 6 feet 8 inches of the finished floor, and beams, girders, and ducts in such space or other obstructions may project to within 6 feet 4 inches of the finished floor. Existing finished ceiling heights and spaces in basements shall not be reduced. Petitioner is seeking a variance to allow ceiling heights in the basement that are less than allowed. Okay, Mr. Griffin, tell us what's going on.
My name is Ryan Griffin. Said I work for Captain Permit. I'm owner of Captain Permit, partial owner. We're located at 245 Route 109 Suite D in Babylon, New York. And yeah, so the client had purchased this house in 2019 and was, inherited the house this way. They had some violations that they called us on to help them out with. They, I believe, were building a rear roofed over a deck, and code enforcement came and noticed that there was a cellar entrance that was there that was never permitted. a deck that was never permitted, the roofed over, and then the finished basement with the bathroom. So we had to apply for these, and so, you know, here we are today. She inherited this as is. You know, a lot of this area is used for storage, but you know, she does go down there at some points, and she says it's kind of used as a rec space. She has children that, you know, go down there sometimes, or she'll go down there. But as you can see, it's a small, pretty small footprint of a house. I think the footprint is only 630 square feet. And so it's kind of a tight space. So she's, you know, she wants to keep the finishes down there as much as possible, just to have any extra space she can. And like I said, she inherited the house this way, so she didn't want to lose the space. After speaking, or after some back and forth with, I believe, some people from your office, some suggestions were made to the design of the basement to make it into safety compliance. Unfortunately, the way that the design is built, a lot of the space has a bench footing around the area of this and blocks any type of exit or way to get out. And there's only one space that we found that we can put an extra egress window in. It was in the proposed plans, I believe, that were sent to you guys. It's kind of near, it's on the left side of the house, and there's also a cellar entrance there. There was also another proposition where there was a really low projection due to HVAC ductwork and the house heating ductwork, where there was a low projection of, I think, only 5 feet, and they proposed to put a wall at that low projection and just make it closed off to where you can't go under that projection. So we proposed that as well. Everything else that's there, that's the way we were intending to keep it. The lowest soffit, I believe, was 5'10" from any of the HVAC ductwork that is down there.
Well, I agree with you. It is a tight space. You know, in my opinion, it looks like it was just a crawl space at one time and without an interior stair, and somebody put an exterior entrance in and finished it. It's really, in my opinion, not conducive to habitating or having people down there.
Yeah.
I mean, what mitigating factors are you providing to help us maybe get to an approval? Is there anything going on here, or are you just asking for relief? Are you gonna provide any, like, safety measures or anything that'll help us get there, or?
I mean, the safety measures, like I said, were the things like adding the extra egress in the one spot that is available. It literally only is the one spot that is available. And it goes through kind of where the mechanicals are. And then, you know, trying to cut real low projection, like adding a wall to where you now even can't, you know, put your head underneath it or hit your head on it. I know it's a very tight space. It's a very awkward space.
I mean, to have children down there and play down there and not be able to communicate with the interior of the house, and I don't know. I mean, I think it would have to be mandated as storage only.
Just
Sure, please.
also that emergency escape window that you are proposing, if I understood, it's where the bathroom side is, right?
No, it's on the other side. It's on the opposite side.
In
Within
the
the
boiler room, but you don't show any, is there any piping or other obstructions there? Usually there's a lot of piping around a boiler.
Photos.
Fortunately, the piping goes the opposite way, so there was kind of a clear path to a window that is existing there. I believe that there was a window just in there, but that was the only spot where the bench footing kind of didn't carry into that spot. So
It's also the most likely place for a fire to occur, in the basement.
Could you also comment on the form that was submitted by the municipality? Where number 10, it says, do you support the petitioner's request for a variance? And it's checked off no. To give a reason for the ceiling, projection heights are very low. Currently, there's no interior access from the first floor to the basement. It says the expediter is willing to have the interior staircase installed if the variance is granted. Number 11, do you believe that the petition should be heard by the Board of Review? No, is the answer. 12, have any actions been taken relevant to this request for a variance? No, is the answer. And number 13, do you support processing this variance as a routine variance? And it says no. Basement is currently has ceiling height of 6'2" and projections are low as 5'1". How do you respond to the municipality not? It looks like they do not want this variance approved.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where they're coming from. There is no interior entrance or access to the basement. I don't know if there ever was at one point, but as it's sat now, we couldn't find a way to put one in there unless it was like a hatch or an opening from the floor. And it's because of all the things that were there. Like you said, I believe it was just a crawl space.
Yeah, like the normal location for a basement stair would be under the stair going up to the attic, right? So you'd have
Yeah.
stair going down and if that was the case, you'd hit that, what you call I call it a Dutch wall, the bench. Yeah, you would have to be inward of that into the closet. Is that something that's attainable? Could you potentially close off the mechanical room and do an internal stair there? It seems to be quite an expense.
No, I don't believe it would work there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small space and it's really not meant to habitate anybody.
Yeah.
So you made a statement at the beginning that your client purchased this house in 2019. Were the stairs, the exterior stairs and the bathroom and the finishes in the basement that's there now existing at the time of closing? And if it was, why wasn't this brought up at that point? That just didn't have any type of permits or occupancy.
Yeah, that's something I don't know. I don't know that information. I came in when they got the violations for it, so that I can't answer.
So, but they were all existing at the time of closing, is that correct?
Yeah, from what I was told from the client, they bought the house like this.
So this was also probably something that was a positive for the purchaser, that she has extra room in the basement, which she didn't know probably. But it's not conducive for habitable. The staircase, the outside stair, I have an issue with. It's very dangerous. Each riser is different.
Where does it call out the riser?
On the photo.
The photo here.
Right.
It's like you trip
I
and
see
you
that.
land down there. It has no railings, like this is also to be legalized, right? So,
Yeah, he mentioned that it was something that didn't have permits.
yeah.
So that might be a challenge as well for you.
Yeah, this is not okay, the staircase.
Yeah, I was told that, yeah, they probably just refinished it and tried to make it look nice and work, but yeah, I know there was definitely discrepancies with the riser heights and everything.
Yeah, I don't know where to go from here.
There's a,
There were as maybe a finished storage and not have to rip out all these walls.
You have a swimming pool there in this property? They use the bathroom from the outside, like a cabana or something, or
Um,
no?
no, they didn't.
I'm just curious, I mean, because you can't use it from inside the house, you gotta come from the outside to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an apartment. It gives the appearance of an apartment.
Mm,
And
yeah.
one of the photos, there's a toaster oven, microwave oven. Yeah,
Do we make a motion now or we come back?
Let's come
Make
back.
a motion.
Well, I just got a split decision here. You can if you want.
We can. Yeah. Yeah, let's discuss it for a few minutes.
Well, I don't know. I'm struggling with the path here, so.
I understand.
And we could make a suggestions on where it could potentially have merit to get approved, and I think that would be the internal stair and doing some crazy stuff with this 5-1 projection and,
Yeah, the only place with the 5-1 projection was where on the plans now we showed that they were just gonna close it off completely, so there wouldn't be a 5-1 projection. You know, it was a low projection, had a little access door
I
to,
don't think the chairman can do it.
gonna be eliminated.
Honestly, I don't believe that there's much wiggle room here to try to even give an approval because of all of the issues that have been, look like that someone created. You don't have ingress from the house itself, so there's no argument that you're using the second bathroom for the person that's actually upstairs. Gives the appearance of an apartment. Ceiling heights are real low. I would make a motion to deny.
So, yeah, we have a motion to deny. Before we get into that vote, if there was a condition for just finished storage, would the bathroom need to be removed?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So conceivably,
So that's why I think we should discuss it.
all right, so I have a motion deny and I have someone wants to deliberate. So we got two other board members. and
I'll
myself.
second the motion, but I think let's deliberate.
Okay. You ladies okay with that?
yes.
Okay. Anything else you want to say, Ryan, before we deliberate this?
No, not this time. Thank you.
All right, hang tight. We'll be right back. Can you hear us okay, Mr. Griffin? 5 by 5, you can hear us?
I can hear you. Can
All
you hear me?
right, we're going to read into it, yeah. So we're back on the record with respect to petition number 2024-0151, Felice Mert Savankan. This petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1. The board makes the following findings. Number 1, the dwelling that is the subject of this determination has a basement that is finished. Number 2, the basement layout in the drawing shows storage spaces with a 3-piece bathroom. Number 3, there are no provisions for sleeping or cooking in the basement drawings, but the photos submitted with the application appear otherwise. Number 4, the finished basement ceiling height is 6 foot 2 inches with projections in the form of girders and soffits with a height of 5 foot 1 inch. Code requires heights of 6 foot 8 and 6 foot 4 inches respectively. Number 5, based on the photos and exhibits with dimensions that were submitted with this application, the exterior stairs are not compliant to code with respect to the riser heights and missing handrails. Number 6, the design professional was not present at the hearing to facilitate mitigation discussions regarding potential structural modifications. Number 7, installing electrically wired smoke alarms within the basement connected to similar devices. We don't need to read that, right? That one's out.
No, that's it.
Same thing with the carbon monoxide detector.
Mhm.
So check that. And number 8, the local code enforcement official has opined on the application and opposes the granting of this variance. So with respect to 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, the board finds that the granting of this variance would substantially adversely affect the Uniform Codes provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, being is hereby proposed to be denied. Need a motion to approve? I mean, to deny?
So moved.
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Hames to deny, second by Mr. Pavone. All in favor of denial?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is not approved. I'm sorry, the motion is approved for denial. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plan specification presented in support of this application. So there you go, Ryan.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got number 3 in the queue. Like automatic,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
template just comes out. Christopher Garten?
I believe.
Yes.
it's-
Hello, good morning.
How are you? You the architect?
I'm Joe Oliveri, architect. I work for,
You're with the applicant?
Yep.
The petitioner? I have Christopher Garten. You with his firm?
yes, yep.
I can't hear you, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Nope.
We did in the beginning and then you went silent.
About
Can
now?
you hear us okay?
Yeah, do you hear me now?
Very slight. I mean, we don't need to hear you until I'm done reading. But is there anybody else here on this application? I see Mr. Bowen.
Yes, I'm here. Tom Bowen.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm great, thanks.
Okay, so we just can't hear your architect. So he's gonna have to present once I read everything into the record.
Now, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, there you go. So sorry.
No problem. We on the record? Okay. Let me just pull up my files here. This one is Park Ave, on New York Avenue. Okay, this is the third hearing in the matter of petition number 2024-0302. The petitioner is Christopher Garten for Mr. Tom Bowen. This petition, yes? Okay, this petition pertains to an addition to an existing structure that was previously used as a mechanic workshop. The structure is approximately 5,859 square feet in total gross floor area, including basement space and garage space. Is there a basement here, CJ?
No basement.
No basement, okay. It's located at 197 New York Avenue, Town of Huntington, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Fire Code of New York State, Section 2404.7.6, titled Termination Point. The termination point for exhaust ducts discharging to the atmosphere shall be not less than the following distances. Number 1, ducts conveying explosive or flammable vapors, fumes, or dusts 30 feet from the lot line, 10 feet from openings into the building, 6 feet from exterior walls and roofs, and 30 feet from combustible walls or openings into the building that are in direction of the exhaust discharge and 10 feet above adjoining grade. Number 2, other product conveying outlets, 10 feet from the lot line, 3 feet from exterior walls and roofs, 10 feet from openings into the building, and 10 feet above adjoining grade. The petitioner is seeking relief or seeking a variance to permit an existing spray booth exhaust duct termination point to be less than allowed by code. That's what I had scribbled. Okay, gentlemen, you got the floor.
Okay, good morning. members of the board. As you stated, this was an emergency installation of a spray booth in this existing mechanic shop. Their previous business had burned down. They relocated their business. So just to save time, they put in the spray booth. They didn't modify the building in any other way. They just did the spray booth. And since then, they immediately hired an engineer and an architect to resolve the situation. And really, there was nowhere else to put this spray booth in this building. It's been a mechanic shop for many, many years. And then it is neighboring, the neighbor next door to this property is a boatyard. And there's really no residences around it or other businesses that we feel will be impacted. There's two vents that stick up. I'll show you from the back first. And then from the street and across the boatyard. So the one that's closest to the property line is the intake, where the air comes into the system. And then the ductwork that's further away from the property line is the exhaust. And yeah, there's no other building around that we feel is going to be impacted. Right now, the neighboring is just a yard. And again, there's no way to change it, move it, turn it, flip it without this approval. I don't know where we go.
Yeah, you said
One at a time.
you said the one closest to the property line is the intake vent?
Yes.
Not according to the drawings.
Yeah, I was notified by the owner that the one closest to the property line is the intake.
So the drawings are incorrect.
Yes.
What's the distance from the property line to the exhaust, not the intake?
The building department had given a much less dimension. The exhaust is actually 14'8" away from the property line, and the intake is 8 feet from the property line.
So why can't you extend the exhaust further away from leaving the spray booth where it is?
Because it needs to go
Extending-
straight up.
Or let the applicant answer that.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
Why can't you take the exhaust and direct it further away from the property line?
I don't know if we're allowed to put an angle on it, and to get 30 feet away, it's like the other side of the building. There's really no way to redo it.
So when the owner did this, there was a contractor that did the work, correct?
Yes.
Is it somebody who typically does spray boots? They don't know the code? They didn't know the code? They just put it up? So was there anybody consulted to make sure that this was getting done in accordance with code, or it was sort of a shotgun, we need a spray booth, let's put it in and worry about it later?
Well, I don't think anything was done as a shotgun necessarily, but they did try to follow there's no other codes that are being broken. This is just something I guess the installer was not aware of. And looking next door and seeing a boatyard.
Well, you built it without a permit, so there's a risk with doing stuff without permits, which that's illegal. So now we're trying to, I'm not trying to minimize the difficult circumstances of the emergency part of it. It's just that there was no one consulted here to ensure that you're building it as per code. So now you're asking us to rescue you and grant relief. And my colleagues here are asking if there's a way to possibly modify this to get better compliance. So are we able to bend it? Can you, as per code, advise us if that could be done? Is there a way to put an angle in and get it further or to the 14.8? Is that possible?
I'm not 100% sure.
So we're not
If
sure.
we could angle
Were there
this.
any violations issued by the municipality, like a notice of violation, a summons that caused this to now be filed?
No, the reason why this went forward is because we're trying to build or expand this building to the rear. And as part of that application and legalizing the structure before that, they were about to grant permits, and then they said, "Oh yeah, by the way, this vent hood is too close to the property line."
No, hold on.
Would the installer? You know the name of
I'd
the
like to speak.
installer of the
My
spray booth?
name,
Go ahead, sir.
yes, I just want to let you know, this was installed by Blowtherm, which is like a nationwide, spray booth company. And I think the reason why we didn't check into any other codes that might be, that we might be violating was because there's many other shops in the town that have the same kind of situation where the exhaust stacks are close to the property line, including the one I had before. And there are a number of shops right now that still have exhaust stacks that are close to the property line, even closer than this. So the stack basically comes straight up out of the exhaust, out of the plenum. And I think because of the amount of air that needs to flow through, and also because the exhaust is filtered twice on these new filters. So there's a paint arrestor filter inside the booth, and then another, like a micron filter that is inside the chamber below the stack, which filters out any debris that might come out. So there really is no particle exhaust coming out of the, the emissions. And I think that was the reason. Plus the diffuser, I believe also, breaks up any flow. So nobody feels any kind of a flow. And the height also is within any kind of code. They build these all the time. So it's kind of a standard build in that sense.
Yeah, but your argument is that my neighbor has it, and we just did it like they did it, doesn't fly.
No, it's not. I'm not saying we did it like they did it. We did it because it was the only way to install the machinery within a building that's only 40 feet wide.
So the code states, we have a deficiency to the 30 feet and we have a deficiency to the 6 feet, right?
How far is the building from the property line?
1.8 feet.
And on the other side of the property line, how far is the next building over?
58 feet to the property line.
58 feet?
Yeah, to the other direction.
No, I think what you're asking is the distance between the building and the boatyard building.
Yeah. That would be the next building over, yeah.
Yeah,
That's not what he
that's
answered.
not the 58. 58 was the direction to the other property line.
Oh,
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, let me give you that dimension.
But the code says to the property line, right?
yeah.
Yes.
But I
I'm
want
trying to
to know
ascertain if this,
what is in between to mitigate.
okay, but it could
That-
change
that
in the
distance.
future, right? If it's not in perpetuity like an
Potentially,
easement. Okay.
It's more than the width of our building, so it's over 50 feet away from the next building. There's the
Okay.
boatyard. The boatyard is 50 feet wide, and then there's another building.
Gotcha. So in between, all there is storage of boats or boats
Yep.
that are being worked on?
Yeah, this is the gap. So this side is our building, and this is the next building over.
Yeah.
You made a statement before about a proposed addition.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Where is that proposed addition gonna be? Where is it being designed? And can you move the spray booth in that addition to give you the distance separation?
The addition is going to be to the rear. And at this point, moving this spray booth would be a tremendous financial setback.
So the spray booth is inside the building.
The
And
spray
this
booth is
actually-
inside the building,
This is the equipment shed, the ventilation shed.
the ventilation shed behind it,
So
right?
Mr.
Which would be,
Pavone, he's asking, when you do your addition off the rear of the building, is it going to impact this equipment shed that could potentially be improved for compliance? Is that the way? I heard it?
yeah, the equipment shed will be enclosed inside of the new building.
So you're spending money. I have a hard time with this. I have a hard time with this.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what are the manufacturer specifications for the CFMs on this? Do you have that, or can you get that?
I don't know if the owner, Tom, has that.
Along the same
Well,
Yeah, the same width of the building, right, the same width of the building is being expanded to the rear lot line.
Yes, but to follow up on your point, when you mentioned that it had no particles and no flow, so are these the manufacturer's specs?
yes, the manufacturer specs are very important because that will determine whether or not that the ductwork can be moved or above the roof to give you the distance separation, depending on the CFMs that are being produced and whether or not that they could modify it from the manufacturer standard.
Exactly, that's why you're asking.
Yes.
I don't have the specifications.
Yeah, well,
Tom, I'm not sure.
We're looking it up right now on the specs to see what the CFMs are.
And is there a provision in the code where are there exceptions to what is required, the setbacks that are required? Are there exceptions where the design and the manufacturer specs can be proven,
No, I don't think so.
tested, and
Oh,
there's none?
no. I've gone through this before. So yeah, I mean, the code is really inclusive of a lot of situations and doesn't really provide exceptions. So that's why I think we have to provide some judgment in looking at this. Yeah, given the distances involved from the nearer buildings, I'm not really too concerned.
I mean, personally, it's troublesome for me because you're embarking on a construction project to expand your building, but you're not proposing to help mitigate some of this deficiency in the code. So is there a value of construction that you're proposing for this new addition that could potentially be invested in fixing some of this code violation? Or you're claiming an economic hardship, or is it physically and legally impractical? What's the hardship?
I think the physical
It's
issue.
physical.
So
But instead of spending money on the addition, why not spend money on fixing the problem? Because you have a violation.
We have looked at the problem and we don't see a solution that could fix it. Because we still need to maintain our clearances away from other doors and openings, et cetera, on the property. And the closer we get to the other side of the building, the closer we get to the doors for the entrance of the building. So we can't turn this thing, we can't shift it. Even if we take it and put it in the back of the property, we're still going to be the same distance away.
What doors are you talking about? If we can get a little more granular with that,
Sure, the rear exit door, the rear exit and entrance door.
and that can't be relocated? I don't know. I think we just need to get into the nuts and bolts. Like the biggest issue is the distance to the property line. Is that the
Yeah.
biggest issue?
And it-
That's the only issue, right?
So from my seat, in the interest of trying to help your client, I think you adjourn this and come back and get your engineer and get the manufacturer's specification and present something that might give us some ability to be able to work with you.
Or if they say that there's no other way to do it,
And you're taking your chances with the board on a decision with conditions possibly, I don't know, or a denial.
So Rob, if I may, this exit door is not a required exit. There are enough exits.
Do we know that for sure?
I can see it.
Yeah, we have a hinged man door next to the two overheads, then they have
Another through the offices.
so the overhead doors and that back space, that's just the exterior equipment shed. So the man door in the rear of the building is the only man door, to get out to the rear of the building. And then there's one to the side of the building as well.
The one on the side, and then there's.
and you can exit through an office.
Yeah, there's enough.
Is there any reason that exhaust duct could not be raised to be higher?
It still wouldn't resolve the
It
distance
wouldn't.
away from the property line.
No, but it would resolve the distance from walls and roof.
Is there a height that you would be comfortable with to potentially granting a conditional approval?
That would work for us.
6 feet from exterior walls and roofs. So it would have to be 6 feet, but also high enough so it's above the adjacent roof.
And what are the limitations to increasing the 14-foot 8-inch distance?
We have to evaluate, we have to evaluate if we could turn this duct sideways. You know, this is what we're looking at. So this is the duct in question. And I'm not sure if we could take this duct and now turn it sideways and then come up. And honestly, just looking at this, if we take this vent and move it, let's say over to here, probably going to have a decent amount of cost. I'm not sure if it's a possibility. It will help to mitigate the situation by code on the books, but just looking at the picture as a whole, you're not really moving that air much further away from anything.
Yeah, but you're
Right?
still
It's
getting,
further away from.
I'll meet you out there. I'm on a Zoom meeting.
you're still gonna get a distance separation from the property line. So again, I'll go with my suggestion. You may want to go back to the manufacturer, see what can be done, and have your engineer of record also with you to kind of present something that can work to give us a little better than what you have now.
And right now we're at 14'8", 50% of the required distance. Okay.
I thought you said it was 18 to the exhaust and 14 to the intake.
No,
What-
8 feet.
14 to the exhaust.
It's we have 14'8" where 13 is required.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the shed is 11 feet from the edge of the building. You're not proposing to move the shed at all, just the duct.
I mean, the amount of everything about this system is expensive, right? There's an interior component, there's an exterior component, there's ducts going through the wall from the spray booth out into the contained area. We are going to modify this duct and probably extend it when we do the new construction of the building behind it. So really, I appreciate the recommendation to go back to the engineer and see if he can move it away further. But we're asking for another, 15 feet, and my concern would just be what else will be impacted. And being that there's such a good filtration system on these systems and are designed to not allow these pollutants into the air, I don't know, if the moving it 15 feet is going to really have a realistic impact on the surrounding area, But we're willing to look into it if that's what you're requesting.
Honestly, this whole thing of the proposed work that you mentioned, I would like to see it. So if you're going to come back, I'd like to see what you're doing and how it's going to affect this structure. Are you're just going to build around it and leave it where it is? Because now you don't have that exit door. It's an internal door, right? Because you're going to put an addition off the back. So how does that exit work? We have a code official here on the board that says it's not a required exit. So there might be some availability to move that shed around to get that 30 feet closer to code.
We can't move the shed, but we may be able to relocate the duct above it.
Okay, so,
Show us how.
I agree with you.
all right, so
I agree.
in lieu of a denial, I guess you want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I get a
I'll
second?
second.
We got a second here. All in favor to adjourn this hearing to come back with more information and some mitigation approaches?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. When you come back, we should see a plot plan and with what is, in addition to the new building that's being added, portion of the building, it should indicate what is outside the property line adjacent.
Yeah, even like a Google Earth image, that would be really helpful.
And I say, I didn't find a code official question mark.
Yeah, it's in,
It is?
Oh, it is?
yeah, it's in.
Here.
Oh, there's the,
Yeah, there's nothing really around this building. It's just used as yard space. It's a very industrial kind of space.
And when you come back, I would respectfully request that you have manufacturer specifications, have some documents from the manufacturer as to whether you can or cannot add some extension onto it, whether it be straight up, going on a side, an angle, whatever it may be. Get that information for us so we could actually deliberate properly, give a decision, hopefully will be benefit your client.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
His name, that's this gentleman, I have both his name, but I didn't get the other.
Who's speaking?
Was that Joe? Joe, what's your last name?
Oliveri?
Oliveri. In the architect's office. Okay, anything else before we conclude the hearing? All right. Hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you put it on mute?
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay,
and-
sorry, Matthew. I'll start. Yes, hi, Diane Powers.
We gotta do our housekeeping first and then you can take the mic. Just wanted to make sure you heard us and we can hear you.
Yes,
Okay, we're on the record. Fourth and final hearing is in the matter of petition number 2024-0497. The petitioner is Diane Powers in Bimbo for Peggy Tershwell. Okay. This petition pertains to an existing detached one-story, single-family dwelling of wood frame type 5 construction. The dwelling is approximately 1,198 square feet in total gross floor area and is located at 47 Beechwold Avenue, Hamlet of Seaview, Town of Islip, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Do you like that? Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 801.5, which requires for horizontal additions that are structurally interconnected to the existing building and all other proposed work that when combined constitutes substantial improvement, the existing building shall comply with Section R322 and 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1, which requires that buildings and structures in flood hazard areas, including flood hazard areas designated as coastal A zones, shall have the lowest floors elevated to or above the base flood elevation plus 2 feet, or the design flood elevation determined in accordance with sections R322.1.4 through R322.1.4.1, whichever is higher. The petitioner wishes to make substantial improvements to a dwelling without elevating the building above the design flood elevation. Is it determined that it was substantial or not? We said make substantial improvements. Do we know that yet? No, we don't. We don't know that yet. Okay.
it's not really.
Significant improvements to the dwelling without, okay. All right, Diane, you have the mic.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is it is a proposed building permit application, and there are interior alterations being done in addition to a few minor extensions, nothing very large, as you could see on the plans. So it's not, the house is not being completely like demoed down to the ground and being rebuilt. So this is an elderly homeowner who purchased the home 2 years ago for a summer vacation home, and she currently lives in Manhattan, in New York City. It's an older home that desperately needs upgrades and a better floor plan for the easier circulation throughout the house for the homeowner. So the renovation projects, as I said, consists of some extensions to enlarge the kitchen and accommodate and relocation of a bathroom and just other interior alterations. Being that the house is on Fire Island and there are current FEMA requirements to raise the house, if there is an extensive renovation where the cost estimate of the project is greater than 50% of the appraised value of the home. So according to the plans examiner, if the work quote came back greater than 50% that of the value of the dwelling, the appraised value, then the house would be required to be lifted. And if it comes back, if the cost came back less than 50%, which it does, then the New York State variance would be required, which is why we are here. So we are requesting, so as I said, it does come in less than 50%, so it is not an extensive renovation. And we are seeking the approval to be below the flood zone elevation without having to raise the home, as that would create a very extensive and unreasonable economic burden, on the homeowner, the elderly homeowner. So that is the recap.
What is the actual appraised value of the house? Not the value on the property, but the house
Yeah.
itself?
It's on the appraisal that was submitted, so hold on, it's 489,896.
That's the structure?
No, that's the, if you look, yeah, that's the appraised value. If you look on the appraisal that was submitted, on the page 2 of the appraisal report, in the kind of bottom right middle, says depreciated cost of improvements is 489,896.
What's the alteration level as per the building code?
Excuse me, I believe it's a,
The level of alteration.
oh, no, I
Architects
have
with
it.
this.
Is the architect with you?
Yes, he's here.
Yeah,
It's a R3. It's a one-family dwelling.
Yeah. He was asking about the level of alteration in the residential code.
Yeah.
Oh, the level.
As
of-
the architect is present,
yeah, I think I think it was, alt
EB.
alt 2.
Oh, right.
Alt,
the
alt, alt 2.
question I have, how much work have you done on Fire Island?
Not a ton.
So this cost estimate that you included in here, it seems to me kind of appropriate for a mainland renovation. But if you're not, are you aware that costs at Fire Island are 2 to 3 times the cost of anything on the mainland?
Yeah, those numbers were worked through with the contractor that we're hoping to work with. But yeah,
So-
we're not, it's not an extensive renovation to the rest of the house. What we're not altering, we're leaving untouched.
So Matthew, for example, I noticed that you had for 2 bathrooms, it was like 12,000. Like to create a bathroom is probably double that, just for one. I mean, I think we'd question the validity of the budget. I mean, if it was a contractor's, estimate for a contract. So I think if we get into that, if we dug into that, we'd have some questions on the validity of the numbers. But, and then it might get close to the substantial alteration in the 50%. So I don't know if the town actually looked at that, or they're expecting us to evaluate it, to break it down, but I think Andy's, because he's very familiar with Fire Island, that he's very familiar with the costs. And
Yeah.
that he's questioning that these are fairly low. And I understand why it benefits you to be low. But, I think we really need to discuss that. And if you're really close, then we need to get into it a little bit.
Right now, it's at 42%.
It's 42
With
with
the
the,
values that they've given us.
so if the structure's 489,896 and the budget was what, 208?
Yeah, 2082.
And also, what would be your response to number 13 on the code enforcement official document that says that the support processing this request as a routine variance, they say no, and they give a reason it could be detrimental to the town of Isop's flood insurance program?
Are you asking what our response is
What's
to
your
that?
response to that?
There's nothing we could really say to that. I mean, unless Matthew has something, I mean, that's, you know, I understand.
Matthew, to build this house new, like you have designed, can you ballpark that number for us? Just give us an idea. If you had to lift it and perform the renovations to meet your client's needs, what would that cost? Is there a square foot number, Randy, on Fire Island for new construction?
No, not that I'm aware.
Because I know England, it's like, Matt, it's like 350, 400 a square foot. I mean, you have a nicely designed project here, so I don't know if it's going to be that low, but if that was the case, what's the square footage?
We're
1,200 square feet?
Yeah, it's, hold on, it's
Four
on.
hundred dollars a square foot is $500,000.
We're proposing just under 1,200
Right,
square feet. The existing house is just under 1,100, so we're proposing 120 square foot of addition. So I go just over 10%.
It's pretty small.
Yeah, no, I got that.
yeah, the additions are not large at all. It's just,
Well, you're undergoing a renovation as well as additions to make a
Yeah.
really nice little
Right.
summer house. Yeah,
oh, I know,
But that's-
interior.
that's 208,000. And do we have a cost of a lift if we had to lift it to comply with the code? And there'll
I
be
don't,
some-
I don't recall the numbers that were sort of thrown out there, but I think it was like 40,000.
40,000 a lift, and then you'll have the collateral effects of all the deck work and the walkways to get that up to proper elevation.
Yes,
So there's a cost with that, and then you have an elderly client, which that would not be conducive to her if she had to go up an extra 5 feet.
yeah, the lot's pretty tight, so to get a, accessible ramp, not that she's in a wheelchair yet, but she does use a cane. And it's not too hard to imagine that her ability to ambulate is gonna decrease over the short future.
Okay,
When was this house purchased by your client?
It's
That's
closed on it right about 2 years ago.
years ago.
To the date.
So when they, before closing, during the title report, research, the building department, was there any Sandy repair permits and how much damage was sustained after Sandy?
The house had sustained no damage during any recent storm.
well, he's specifically asking about the 2012 storm.
Yeah, no, there was,
Do you have any knowledge of that?
my understanding is that there was no damage.
And they had no claim for insurance from
No.
Sandy?
Not, I'm reasonably confident that there was no claim.
I'm not aware
There's
of it.
nothing that suggested that there'd been any recent repairs. Which I think photos appear in the appraisal document that would maybe back that up.
So I'm just trying to get a handle on the economic hardship to comply with code. You have a $208,000 renovation cost, and you're saying approximately 40,000 to lift. Well, you didn't take into account in that 40,000,
Lifting all the decking.
the other work to get, yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's just the lift cost.
How much was the lift cost, sorry?
he approximated that around 40,000.
For the whole house?
Yeah, and then still perform the renovations that they desire to perform. And then there is the access component to it to get to that new. I think it's, the DFE is 11 feet, which would be a 4'8" inch deficiency, 4.8 inch, and then the BFE is 2.8 deficient,
How could that be?
right? I have a elevation certificate at 6.2 feet, is that correct?
Yeah, 6 to 11 is 5.
Excuse me?
Yeah,
6.2
6, yeah.
minus the 11 is 4.8. I got that right? You're the engineer.
6 from 11?
6.2 from 11 is almost
Oh,
5,
4, 5, oh,
4.8.
yeah, yeah, almost 5.
And then the BFE is 9. Yeah. 0.8. No,
So we're
3.8.
5 foot shy.
Yeah. Which is quite a lift.
Yes.
I just don't see 40,000 on a limb.
What do you do with that, Matthew? Do you just scab the piling? Is that how it works? You extend them or do they redo new pilings?
You could,
Leave it?
you could build up from them.
I haven't had conversation, in-depth conversation enough to understand all the means and methods for that.
Is this on piles? What? The drawings seem to indicate it's on concrete foundations.
No.
I'm looking at,
Yeah. So the clients solicited existing condition drawings. So I was working off those. But yeah, it did seem to indicate that there were piers under there.
So he's got pier footings posting
your
up.
footing, so those are concrete, so.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I can't crawl under the house. I don't know how that was.
Yeah, you'd have to have a lot of cross bracing to go up from that another 50 feet.
Yeah.
What is the insulation that you're showing under the floor? I see a lot of the notes on these drawings indicate a lot of just rehashing and quoting code requirements without actual design. There's no electrical design, there's no layout of electrical. It talks about insulation, but not the materials, the specifying materials. It seems like it's like half a design here.
I think what accompanied the drawings was a res check report that was submitted to the town. So we got, so I think that the specifics of the insulation type and value were all contained in that document. So it's
Well, it should be on the drawings that go to the contractor too, rather than saying just meet our so-and-so.
yeah.
Those are approved plans, right?
So when the town approved the res check document, we sort of moved into this phase, and that if, depending on how this conversation goes, we'll migrate all that information back onto the drawings. But
Okay, so tell me, what insulation are you planning on using or was included in the res check under the floor?
that should all be closed cell spray foam. So
Okay, that's what I was asking. That's all spray foam.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's all spray foam, which it should be, have you done a buoyancy calculation to make sure that if the flood elevation is reached, that this house is not going to float away?
We did
Pull away from its footings.
we did retain a structural engineer. So even though the information presented is on my title block, it was designed by a licensed certified structural engineer. So the cross bracing and tie downs and all that stuff is multi-directional, is meant to satisfy that concern.
Okay, make sure he thought about buoyancy too.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate very much that this is a proposed submission and not something that you maintained and built without permits. So I commend you for that. I still have an issue trying to clarify the numbers. And I have tying into those numbers, the question on the sanitary, because you're adding a bedroom in Suffolk County, you got to address the sanitary. And that might be something that'll affect the budget as well. Can you expand on that a little bit?
We're not adding a bedroom, we're not adding a bedroom or a bathroom. We're sort of pushing the bedroom to the back.
So you're not
Rear yard.
increasing the bedroom count?
No,
I had it in my notes that you were. Let me just check.
No. No.
And you're not adding bathrooms as well? You're just renovating?
we're not changing the plumbing fixture count at all. We're just moving things around so that it's easier for her to get around.
Like the bathrooms without sanitary, it's based on the bedroom count. I thought you had added a bedroom on the addition.
No. No.
Okay. So that's why that's not in the budget. So the existing sanitary is going to remain.
Yeah.
Electric and HVAC, can you tell us where that is located? I didn't look at the
So we're
relation certificate.
not doing any HVAC. And then electric is, it's the rest of the house is compliant, so just in the areas of improvement, we'll obviously bring it up to code GFIs, and existing service is adequate. We're not changing any service.
I think I was just asking the height of the
Well-
existing electrical panel, right? And
Where is the existing electrical panel?
It's in bedroom one. Bedroom one.
Yeah, that's the one you're modifying.
No.
Oh, it looked,
Oh, wait, no, sorry, it's in bedroom two. There's an EP and an EM on the south
Behind the fireplace.
corner.
Move your hand for a second.
okay.
Does the elevation certificate state at what height that is? I was looking for it.
That's
Does it
probably-
comply to the elevation?
It's probably 4 feet or so above the floor. Close.
I don't want to guess. I'm asking.
But the wall outlets and in the areas being renovated, those should be above the DFE.
5 feet up, so all in bedrooms?
There's a that's,
Wow, okay.
you know, when an electrical outlet gets wet, you've trashed all the wiring to that outlet.
Right.
So that's why it's required that they be above the DFE.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a lot of problems in Long Beach with that, if you recall. It's the whole home run back to the panel, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have any other questions. Any of my colleagues have any other questions?
I would assume that all of the building materials below the DFE and the renovation are going to be water resistant.
Yeah.
What else do we typically ask for with stuff below the floodplain?
That's
Just the
pretty much
mechanical equipment heating.
mechanical, but that's existing.
Did we establish the elevation of the electrical panel? I was looking for it, I couldn't find it.
No, but if it's 4 feet above the floor, then it's,
Well, the mechanical says
Probably
6.2, which is at the floor. And then the electric panel,
I wouldn't ask them to move that existing panel because,
oh, okay.
yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add before we deliberate?
No, I don't think so. I just, I guess going back to, what was the word used in the beginning description, significant or
Substantial.
substantial? I don't know how that's defined at your level, but I think our thinking was a 10% addition to the house would.
Substantial improvement is
You wanna read it?
defined as
You want me to read it?
over 50% of the appraised value of the existing building, not including the property.
Yeah, so, but,
We're
we-
close.
we presented on that and then wasn't sure if a 10% addition would sort of also reaffirm that this is not substantial. But if it,
Yeah, has nothing to do with the percent
Yeah.
of the addition.
All right. Hang tight, we'll be back.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The good news is we're almost done.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back on the record.
Okay.
With respect to petition number 2024-0497, Ms. Peggy Turchwell, petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 801.5, and 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1. The board makes the following findings. Number one, the subject dwelling is in a flood hazard zone AE. Number two, the top of the main floor level is at elevation 6.2 feet, NAVD 88. The base flood elevation, which is known as the BFE, is 9 feet, NAVD 88. And the design flood elevation is 11 feet, NAVD 88, after adding the New York State Freeboard. Number three, the petitioner wishes to make a first floor addition of approximately 121 square feet to the dwelling. Number four, the architect has provided a cost estimate for the proposed work at approximately $208,200. An appraised market valuation of $489,896 has been submitted for the value of the dwelling, has also been provided. Number five, these estimates suggest that the proposed additions, coupled with all other incidental construction taking place with this permit application, is not a substantial improvement. However, the board believes this estimate may be low for construction on Fire Island. Number six, if the proposed work was considered a substantial improvement, the entire dwelling would need to be lifted in accordance with R322 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. And number seven, the local code enforcement official objects to the granting of the variance based on potential impact on town flood insurance rates. So with respect to 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 801.5, and 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions to the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. So wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 801.5, and 19 NYCRR, Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R322.2.1, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Okay, condition number one, that any or all improvements to the dwelling shall not constitute a substantial improvement as defined in the code. Number two, all new materials below the design flood elevation shall be of flood-resistant materials. And number three, that in all other respects, the applicable provisions of the current uniform code shall be complied with, including but not limited to the code's provisions for flood vents in the upper floor space of the addition. Is that applicable here?
No.
That's not applicable. I didn't change that. So number three would be that in all other respects, the applicable provisions of the current uniform code shall be complied with. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
So moved. Andy?
Andy, may I get a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Lara, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specification presented in support of this application. So you are approved with those three conditions. Any questions?
Yeah.
Nope.
That,
I
Mike,
think-
those will be written on the notice we get, of course, right? I mean, the official approval notice.
The formal decision, yes,
Mhm.
which I think we're
Thank
running
you.
about, we're running about probably 4 to 6 weeks on that.
Before the official approval, because then it goes back to the building department for their final
Correct.
stage. Right.
That's correct,
About
yes.
4 to 6 weeks
We're
before
running
they'll
about
be.
that, yeah. I mean, Albany, we got holidays coming up, but we'll do the best we can to turn it around for you.
Yes, please. Thank you. God bless you
You're
all.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Wonderful holidays. Thank you,
too.
everybody.
too.
Hi, Lola. Is Lola still there?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great
Thank
week.
you.